shit that you've been told, and you need that info. Sonetta TV, Sonetta TV. Tune in to consciousness and watch the lies fold, then you can let the truth flow. On Sonetta TV, Sonetta TV. When you feel that melanin about to explode, like you feel the wind blow, it's Sonetta TV, Sonetta TV. I know you got the truth, but you can get more, so you continue to grow. Sonetta TV, Sonetta TV.
Peace and black power to my people out there. I want to let y'all know this is another Sonetta TV production, and I'm coming at you with Guerrilla Hebrew. He's going to break down the Bible and scripture. Take it for what it's worth. Peace and black power, family.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Give double honors to the elders that rule well, and honors and shalom to all the brothers out there doing the work in truth and sincerity. You know, for the record, my elders are, the elders of Great Millstone from Tahar, Gabar, Aran Lab, Kar, Sakaran, Tazadakba, Ayathan, on down. You know, any of the elders I failed to mention. You know, double honors to them elders who've been paving the way for us younger brothers and doing the work of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai for many years. You know, and pushing this truth, man, and condemning this place and waking our people up and letting them know who they are. All right. My name is Ahlazar BanLawya. I'm the chief priest of Exodus 17:15 Hebrew Israelites, aka the sect of the Sakari. You know, and just wanted to do this video, you know, for Sonetta, for the House of Consciousness audience, because a recent video I did in response to Ali Muhammad and Shaka Atmos got a lot of attention online and whatnot, and I'm hearing what these different people in the so-called conscious community are saying all throughout the comment boards. You know, they keep coming with the same corny defenses. Oh, you can't prove the Bible, this and that. And I also want to focus on something that Shaka Atmos and Ali Muhammad was touching on in their video, was the Septuagint, and how people kind of insinuate, not saying that either of them actually said that, but a lot of people, I've heard people say that basically the Bible did not exist before the Septuagint, but there's also certain record people once say, well, okay, the Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest basically thing that could kind of verify or, you know, validate the Bible. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to show how in error some of these people are when they make these assumptions and they make these claims that they make. We're going to show how, through the spirit of Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, of course, the Most High God, in the name of His only begotten Son, that there is even older historical, archaeological finds that can validate the scriptures verbatim, also verify events documented in the scriptures and chronicled in the scriptures, among other things, dating back before the Dead Sea Scrolls and before the Septuagint, and then before the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is older than the Septuagint. Okay, we're gonna go all throughout the Levant. We even gonna go into ancient Kemet, and we're gonna show records in ancient Kemet of Israel existed, and Israel being a world power on the scene, and different historical events chronicled in the scriptures that are also chronicled on the walls of Kemet, not in the that's plagiarized sense, in the sense of all these different cultures have the same account of different events in history. Okay, see what these guys do, and what a lot of people do, they automatically want to shun the Bible, but they're not understanding what the Bible is. When you really break down what the Bible is, you can't dismiss it. Okay, number one, the Bible are laws, statutes, and commandments. These laws, statutes, and commandments are undeniably and irrefutably beneficial for our people. So you can't deny the laws, and statutes, and commandments. Okay. Then we got the history. These certain parts of history are verifiable in other cultures' history. Therefore, that means the historical accounts are accurate. Then we have Psalms. Okay, the Psalms are, for the most part, some are prophetic, but they also have to do with inspirational, uplifting Psalms. Those are irrefutably uplifting. Then we have the Proverbs. The Proverbs are irrefutable wise words. You cannot sit here and read the book of Proverbs and tell me that these things are not words of wisdom and they're not true. Okay, then we have prophecy. And all these prophecies of the scriptures have either came to pass already or are shaping up to come to pass. Some of these prophecies are coming to pass for the second and third time. So in all actuality, those who want to throw the Bible out and say the Bible is bullshit, you really can't throw the Bible out. And you have to remember, the Bible is a composition. It is a compilation of the law, the history, the prophets, the Psalms, the Proverbs. Okay? That is what it is. It is a compilation of things. Okay? So when the Septuagint happened, and when that was, translated and that was put together, that's basically the first compilation. We had the book of the law always. Then we had different historical accounts of books. And then we had, the books of the Psalms, which were songs. And then we had the wise words of, the likes of Solomon and such. And then, the different writings that the different scribes that followed the different prophets around wrote down. And what happened was, during the time of the Septuagint, they were all compiled and brought into one. Okay, and we're going to show records of the scriptures existing outside and before the Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls in ancient Israel, and historical events chronicled in the scriptures that are chronicled in other societies and kingdoms surrounding ancient Israel, okay, which is all going to verify, validate, back up the Bible, okay. Well, let's go into it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show some of it. I'm gonna show some of these artifacts because I have photographs of most of them. This first one I don't actually couldn't find a photograph on, but I'm gonna and I'm gonna cite sources, and I'm gonna name the names of these artifacts. For all these guys, they didn't cite sources. They didn't name the name. I'm going to name the name of the artifact, and I'm going to cite sources. So y'all can all go and research everything that's coming out of my mouth right now, okay? Don't if I name a archaeological object, you can't tell me I didn't cite the source. You can look it up and see if what I'm saying is true or false, okay? But let's go into it. All right? We're going to go off what the scholars is talking about, okay? Because clearly, apparently you guys don't accept the words of another one of your people. You only accept the words of the white man, okay? Which we don't even like to deal with that too much. But since this is what y'all want, we're going to give you what y'all want. We're going to give you archaeological, historical scholarship, okay? And we're going to prove on your playing field that what we talking about is accurate and true, okay? But let's go into it. All right, the first archaeological thing I want to reference, I don't have the photograph for this particular one, but y'all can all go look it up. It's called the Deir Allah inscription. Okay, the Deir Allah inscription, or Balaam son of Beor inscription, which Balaam the son of Beor is a prophet that is written about in the book of Numbers in the law. Okay, in the Bible, was discovered during a 1967 excavation in Deir Allah, Jordan. It's Deir Allah rather. Okay, Deiralla. All right, and that's in Jordan. Okay, modern day Jordan. The excavation revealed a many-chamber structure that had also been destroyed by earthquake during the Persian period at the site. On the wall of which was written a story relating visions of the seer of the gods Balaam son of Beor, who may be the same Balaam mentioned in Numbers, the 22nd through the 24th chapter, and in other passages in the Bible. So this is a person who was a prophet who was documented outside of the scriptures as being an actual prophet and a historical figure, verifying the scriptures, verifying that the Bible was writing about people who were well known at the time. Because when you read in the book of Numbers, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th chapter about Balaam, you see he was a major player, especially to the Moabites. Meaning what? Meaning the Moabites and other civilizations in the Levant would have had to have documented this individual if he was a prolific individual of that time period, which according to the Deir Allah inscription, he was. And he was a prophet during that time that a lot of those different civilizations went to. And some of his prophecies were documented and chronicled here in the Deir Allah inscription, okay? Which I don't have a photograph for. But for this next one, I got a photograph for it. And it is it's dated the 10th century BC, okay? So before the Dead Sea Scrolls and before the Septuagint. And it's called the Kibra Kayafa inscription, okay? And I'm gonna go in so y'all can see it. See that? That's Paleo Hebrew, okay? Don't be getting all simple. That's that Paleo Hebrew, and I'm gonna read the article, and y'all can all go look it up, okay? The Kibra Kayafa inscription, okay? 10th century BC, okay? And let's see what Now I just showed you the basically it's transposed of the Paleo Hebrew that was written on that particular object. Now let's see what it was written in that Paleo Hebrew and how it is proof that of a verse of actually two particular verses in the Bible. Okay, let's go to it. It says, "You shall not do it, but worship the God. Judge the slave and the widow, judge the orphan and the stranger. Plead for the infant, plead for the poor and the widow. Rehabilitate the poor at the hands of the king. Protect the poor and slaves, support the stranger." What is that? It's what we see here in the law. Okay, verifying that the law of the first 5 books of Moses existed before the Septuagint and before the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, this is 10th century BC, far before that. All right, let's go to it's Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, the 17th to the 18th verse. Now again, what does it say? Judge the slave and the widow and the orphan and the stranger, plead for them and whatnot. Okay, that's basically the gist of what's written here. Let's see what the book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, the 17th to the 18th verse says. "For the Lord your God is God of gods and the Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty and terrible, which regardeth not persons nor taketh reward. He doth execute the judgment of the fatherless and widow, and loveth the stranger in giving him food and raiment." So what do we read about here on the Kibra Kiyafa inscription? It's telling you about judging the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. That's the same thing it's telling us here. And it's telling us to have basically grace upon the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. All right? Same thing it tells us in the law. You understand what I'm saying? Showing you that the laws of Moses, it pre-exists the Septuagint and pre-exists the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is 10th century BC. Okay? It goes back further than that in all actuality. But this is just proving that it pre-exists the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint, which a lot of you so-called conscious dudes claim that that's when the Bible's inception and its creation, it was all just made up during that time period when it wasn't. Okay? It goes back further than that. All right? Now, the Kibra Kiyafa inscription, there was also other artifacts that was found during that excavation. Okay, shrines were also found in this same location. The shrines are boxes shaped with different decorations, showing impressive architectonic and decorative styles. According to Garfinkel, the style and decoration of these cultic objects are very similar to the biblical description of some features of Solomon's temple. Exactly. So it also verifies Solomon's temple and some of the artifacts that was in Solomon's temple. Okay, it matches up with them same biblical descriptions, some of the artifacts that they found. All right, so you guys, you clearly ain't doing this research, and you clearly are not knowledgeable on this, or else you wouldn't make the claims about the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint that you do, as if that is the beginning of the Bible, when it's not. The Bible goes back further than that, and it goes back further than even this. Okay, but I'm gonna keep going. Let's go to the next archaeological. Let's go to ancient Kemet. Okay, let's go to ancient Kemet, and again, that's the Kiyafa. The Kibra Kiyafa inscription. Okay, so y'all look that up. All right, let's go to the Bubasite portal is called in ancient Kemet. I want y'all to get a good look at ancient Kemet, okay? For y'all old Israel didn't exist ass niggas, man. I'm just gonna come straight. This ancient Kemet, okay? Y'all see the wall, all right? That's not ancient Kemet right there. The Bubasite portal. Look it up, all right? Tell me I'm lying, all right? It's the spirit that's bearing witness right now, okay? But let's see what it says here. It records, this is what this, on this wall, the Bubasite portal, this is what it says. It says it records the conquest and military campaigns in 1925 BCE Israel of Shoshanek the First. Okay, so it talks about an Egyptian pharaoh that made a conquest into Israel during about 925 BC. All right, I'm gonna continue though. Of the 22nd dynasty, Shoshanek has been identified with the biblical Shishak. Okay, he's known as the Bible as Shishak, but according to your Kemetic people or your Egyptologists, they call him Sashkanek. Okay, but in the scriptures he's known as Shishak. He's the same person, and it all historically lines up with the same exact timeline. Okay, as we're gonna further prove. In the very early years after the decipherment of Egyptian hieroglyphs on the chronological, historical, and linguistic grounds, nearly all Egyptologists identified Shishak with Shoshanek the First. Or Shishak the First, rather. This position was maintained by most scholars ever since. and is the majority position. Okay, so them crackers you love so much, your cracker Egyptologists y'all love so much, agree that this Bubasite portal and this Egyptian pharaoh verifies the scriptures, because it documents his conquest into Israel, and the scriptures also in the history document Shishak's conquest into Israel. Okay. This position, I already read that part, my bad. The fact that Shishak left behind explicit records of a campaign into Canaan, and it cites a long list of Canaanite places from Negev to Galilee. Okay, when you read when you actually read it, because I actually read it, these are just basically the notes and the summary of it. But when you actually read what's inscribed on these walls, countless cities all throughout Canaan, but especially in Israel, are named, including Galilee is on the list. Okay, which if anybody who knows anything about the Bible knows Galilee is a key place in Israel. Okay, let me keep going on. Including a stela found at Megiddo, another place in Israel. Okay, and it supports the traditional interpretation. Now I'm gonna cite my source real quick though. You could go to Reliability of the Old Testament by William Erdmans, and also Campaign of Pharaoh Shoshenq the First into Palestine by Kevin A. Wilson. Okay, those are my sources, and you can also just research this archaeological site, the Bubasite portal. Okay, just to check me. All right, I'm not giving you no bullshit here, but I'm gonna verify that this ancient account of this Egyptian pharaoh making a conquest into Israel in 900 BC. Okay, far before the Septuagint of the Dead Sea Scrolls, is documented not only on the walls of Egypt, but is also documented in the history in the Holy Bible. We're gonna go to 2 Chronicles 12. Go to 2 Chronicles 12 to show you Shishak documented in the Bible. Okay, he's in the Bible and he's on the walls of Kemet. All right, this is 2 Chronicles 12:1. And it came to pass, when Rehoboam had established the kingdom and had strengthened himself, he forsook the law of the Lord and all Israel with him. And it came to pass that in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem, because they had transgressed against the Lord. All right, because what happens? The Most High will let our enemies overtake us when we don't follow His law, statutes, and commandments. That's why these crackers got us in the position that they got us in right now in this damn place. Okay, because y'all want to follow Egypt. All right, our former oppressors. All right, but I'm not even gonna get to that. Let's just deal with this history. Okay, so we can establish the foundation before we even go any further with any more discussions. Y'all gotta understand this. Y'all gotta get this work. Y'all gotta get this history and understand that the Bible and the Hebrew Israelites is not to be played with. Okay, but I'm gonna keep going here. And it came to pass that in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem, because they had transgressed against the Lord, with 1,200 chariots and 70,000 horsemen. And the people were without number that came with him out of Egypt, the Lubims, the Sukims, and the Ethiopians. So it was different Hamitic people that came up against us, different African nations that it came up against us. All right, and he took the fenced cities which pertained to Judah and came to Jerusalem, meaning he had conquered us, man. All right, basically he fought against us and he defeated us. All right, in that time period. It's verse 5. Then came Shemaiah the prophet to Rehoboam and to the princes of Judah that were gathered together to Jerusalem because of Shishak, and said unto them, Thus saith the Lord, Ye have forsaken me, and therefore have I also left you in the hand of Shishak. Whereupon the princes of Israel and the king humbled themselves, and they said, The Lord is righteous. And when the Lord saw that they humbled themselves, the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, saying, They have humbled themselves, therefore I will not destroy them, but I will grant them some deliverance, and my wrath shall not be poured out upon Jerusalem by the hand of Shishak. Hence why Shishak couldn't conquer Jerusalem. When you read on the Bubasite portal, it says he took some of the cities of Judah, just like the scriptures say, he took some of the cities of Judah, but because the inhabitants of Jerusalem humbled ourselves, because we humbled ourselves during that time, the Lord did not allow Shishak to triumph over Jerusalem. Okay, why else couldn't he? He had that powerful, innumerable army. Please explain to me why he couldn't take our capital. Why? Because we humbled ourselves and the Lord did not allow him to do it. Y'all might call it spooked out or whatever, but I want you to explain to me why your great Kemetic Pharaoh with his innumerable army could take particular cities amongst Israel and Judah, but couldn't take over the capital. Explain that to me. His army was larger than the army Israel had during that period of time, and he also had the different Hamitic people, the Lubims and the Ethiopians and such. with him. Why couldn't them great Kemetic people take down the Israelites during that time period? Take the capital of Israel during that time period? I'll tell you why. Because the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai did not allow him to. And that's the only reason his conquest was not totally successful. Please present a thesis stating to the contrary on the reasoning behind his conquest not being successful. Okay? You can't. You know why you can't? Because that's the reason. All right? And you could call it spooked out if you want, but again, I want you to present a logical explanation why he couldn't take us down. All right? But I'm going to finish this up. So Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem and took away the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house. He took all. He carried away also shields of gold which Solomon had made. Okay, so what happened? Yes, he took some of our gold. You see what I'm saying? But he didn't fully conquer Jerusalem. He robbed us, but he didn't fully conquer Jerusalem. Explain to me why he couldn't fully conquer Jerusalem. Because the Lord would not allow him to fully conquer Jerusalem. So yeah, he could steal some of our gold. Yeah, he could conquer some of our other cities. But our capital as a whole, he couldn't conquer. He came up against Jerusalem, but he could not conquer Jerusalem. He could only rob from some of the king's house of Jerusalem. Okay, but overall, he didn't get over on us. Why? Because the Lord was with us. Okay. But our people was being wicked during that time period. That's why the Lord even allowed Shishak to come to us. All right? But I'm going to keep going to the history, man. Go to some other, let's go to the Kirk monolith. I'm going to show y'all these artifacts before I even go into them. So y'all can see we ain't playing out here and we real about our scholarship. Okay, the Kirk monolith. All right? Google it. All right, let me read about the Kirk monolith. The Kirk monolith is a coalition as the kingdoms of Egypt, Hamath, Arvan, the Ammonites, Ahab of Israel, and other neighboring states under the leadership of King Ahlazar of Damascus. Okay, the coalition in 853 BC defeats Shalmaneser at the Battle of Qarqar. All right, the Kirk monolith confirms the reign of Ahab. Now, Ahab was a king in Israel that's documented in the scriptures. It also documented in the scriptures is this coalition that was formed between Ahab and those other nations that we just read about here. It's also documented on the Kirk monolith. So elsewhere in antiquity, outside of the Bible, this story and this historical chronicle is verified through this Kirk monolith. Okay, the Kirk monolith confirms the reign of Ahab and also his coalition with the Syrian king Ahlazar of Damascus. According to the inscription, Ahab committed a force of 2,000 chariots and 10,000 foot soldiers to a Syrian war coalition. The fact that Ahab, Sirlet, and Ben-Hadad of Damascus appear next to each other, and that in an inscription of the same king Shalmaneser, Nimrod's obelisk, which we're going to get into next, Nimrod's obelisk, or Nimrod's obelisk rather, appears Jehu, son of Omri, and commemorates the descendant of Hazazel of Damascus, leaves no doubt that this Ahab is the biblical Ahab of Israel. That Ahab appears in cahoots with Damascus is quite in keeping with the biblical accounts which Ahab concluded after the battle of Aphek, an alliance with Ben-Hadad against the hereditary enemy Assyria. Okay, so what happens? You read this Kirk monolith and you see that not only did Ahab, king of Israel, exist, but also this coalition between these other nations existed, and these battles against the Assyrian also existed, which are all documented in the scriptures. So these are other civilizations verifying historical accounts in the Bible. Okay, and I'm going to read this account. It's 1 Kings 20 and 34. Okay, it's 1 Kings 20 and 34. And Ben-Hadad said unto him, the cities which my father took from thy father I will restore. This is when Ben-Hadad is making that alliance with Ahab, okay? And thou shalt make streets for thee in Damascus, and my father made, as my father made in Samaria. Then said Ahab, I will send thee away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him and sent him away. So what happened? The king of Damascus and the king of Israel made a covenant, which is documented in history. They made a covenant to do what? Come against the king of Assyria, which is also documented in history. This large coalition is documented in history. Okay, so this verifies the Bible. This verifies that the words in the scriptures and the historical accounts are true. We can't argue with the prophecies being true because they've came to pass or they're shaping up to come to pass. You can't argue with the wise words. Those are universal and irrefutable. You can't argue with the Psalms of inspiration, and you can't argue with the endless and infinite benefits that the upholding the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave us are for our people. You can't argue that how beneficial that is. So what are we showing? That the Bible is the book. It is the only book, okay, and it is a verifiable, validated, certified book, okay, that has stood the test of time. All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna get back into this archaeology. Let's go into the black obelisk, okay, aka Nimrod's obelisk. We're gonna go into that, which was just referenced briefly in the article regarding the Kirk monolith. Okay, y'all don't believe me? Look it up. The Kirk monolith, Kurkh monolith. Okay. Let's go to the black obelisk. Well, I'm going to show y'all it before we even go any further. The black obelisk, okay? And this black obelisk, it shows us something. It's a picture of something happening. It's a picture of something occurring that's documented in the scriptures, all right? Dealing with Jehu, son of Omri, okay, which was a king of Judah, all right? Going to this article on the black obelisk. Okay, now the black obelisk, you got rows of pictures. Okay, y'all could Google it, y'all could look it up and verify that for yourself. Okay, the second row of pictures on the obelisk depicts the tribute of one particular king whom we know. When the ancient Assyrian cuneiform inscription was translated, the biblical world was shocked. The inscription reads, "The tribute of Jehu, son of Omri, I received from him silver, gold, a golden bowl, a golden vase with pointed bottom, golden tumblers, golden buckets, tin, a staff for a king, and spears." Okay, so what happened? There was an alliance made between Jehu, okay, and this particular king of Assyria. Now, what you have to understand is Israel, when you understand in the scriptures and you understand in history, Israel was split into two kingdoms: the kingdom of Israel, or the northern kingdom, and the kingdom of Judah and the southern kingdom. Now, the northern kingdom is where you get your Latinos and your Native Americans today. The southern kingdom is the black tribes. Okay. Now, what you have to understand is this: when our nation split into two separate kingdoms, we basically started functioning as two separate nations, and we basically started looking at each other as enemies, much like the black and Hispanic do today, especially when you go into the prison system. I know out here in California, when you go into the jail system, what happens? What you have is you have black, you have Mexican, you have white, and you have other. Those are basically the four classifications racially when you go into jail. Now, if you black, your sidekicks are the others. If you're a Mexican, your sidekicks are the whites. So what happened, what we see in that jail is just a mirror image of what was happening in the ancient times. When we split into two separate kingdoms, we then started making alliances with the people who also didn't like us. You got the crackers, they don't like the niggas, so the Mexicans and the crackers done linked up and said, fuck the niggas. So what did the niggas do? We went and grabbed everybody else to come be on our team. And this is the same thing that was happening here. We saw Ahab make an alliance with the king of Damascus, and then we saw Jehu make an alliance with the king of Assyria, because what happened was Ahab made an alliance with the king of Damascus to combat the king of Assyria. So what did Jehu, the king of Judah, do? He made a pact or an alliance with the king of Assyria. Okay, it was all out of spite of our brethren of the northern kingdom, because we split up and we started functioning as if we were two different nations and two totally different separate people, much as we see in today's society. Okay, but I'm going to keep reading. Okay, history outside of the Bible tells us Jehu and Shalmaneser were kings at the same time. When the obelisk was created, Jehu still had 10 years left of his reign in Israel. That's according to the dating system. Okay, the way they dated it lines exactly up with biblical history. Okay. The black obelisk fully supports every detail of the Bible. It makes perfect sense for Jehu to be paying tribute to Shalmaneser. Here are some reasons. Jehu was the mortal enemy of Ahab. You see, just what did I just say? Y'all heard what I just said when I was breaking down the history. What is the scholar saying? That Jehu and Ahab were mortal enemies. Okay, who was one of Ahab's allies, Ahlazar, the king of Damascus. It would be natural for the king of Damascus to hate Jehu. A man named Hazael assassinated Hadadezer and became the new king of Damascus. We learn from 2 Kings 10:32 in the Bible. In those days, the Lord began to cut off parts of Israel. Hazael defeated them throughout the territory of Israel. Jehu was being rooted by Hazael. He needed some help to try to keep the country alive. You may be thinking, why in the world would the king of Israel, especially someone like Jehu, who was being used by God in powerful ways, ever pay tribute to the king of Assyria? Because in him paying that tribute to the king of Assyria, as is pictured on the black obelisk, Jehu is actually bowing down as if he's worshiping the king of Assyria. So that's what they're saying. Why would he do that? Because he's supposed to worship the Most High God. Now, the Most High God said you ain't supposed to bow down to any man but him, right? Let's go into it, though. And it's covered in the Bible, okay? Why didn't Jehu just pray to the Most High and allow God to rescue him from Hazael? We learn from 2 Kings 10 and 31. But Jehu was not careful to walk in the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He did not turn from the sins of Jeroboam, which he had made Israel to sin. Okay, Jehu had some amazing moments being zealous for God, but had other times in his reign when he wasn't walking with God. It would make perfect sense for Jehu, instead of praying, to be looking to the Assyrian king to rescue him from King Hazael. So it told us in 2 Kings 10 and 31 that Jehu wasn't all the way right. Though he was right at times, he wasn't all the way right. And one of the times we see he wasn't all the way right is pictured on the black obelisk when we see him bowing to the king of Assyria, making a counter alliance to that made with Ahab and the king of Damascus. Okay, but don't forget the coalition defeating Shalmaneser at the Battle of Qarqar in 853 BC. Shalmaneser would have never forgotten the battle. Two of the people in that coalition, the king of Damascus and Ahab, Jehu and Shalmaneser, shared common enemies. It would be natural for Shalmaneser and Jehu to join forces. Why? Because that old saying, my enemy's enemy is my friend, right? Okay, but I'm going to finish this up about the black obelisk. The black obelisk depicting Jehu's tribute to Shalmaneser is such an amazing archaeological discovery. We are brought right into the time frame of the 9th century BC. The discovery provides such rich evidence for the accuracy of many events mentioned in 1st and 2nd Kings. So these other civilizations have those historical records that verify the historical records of the scriptures, as we are continuing to prove. Okay, we're bringing this information out, and I'm going to cite a source, Assyrian reliefs from the palace of Esher-Nasparah II, a cultural biography by Stephen E. Kangas. Okay, so y'all could check that source. The next thing we go into is the Tel Dan inscription, which was discovered in 1993 by Avraham Byron. Okay. Now the Tel Dan inscription. Okay. The Tel Dan inscription also has another name. It's also known as the House of David inscription. So y'all could research that, okay? But I'm show it. Make sure I got it in there. See, I want y'all to notice the highlighted part. The highlighted part says House of David, or Bayath Dawada in the Paleo Hebrew. Okay? And we're going to show that significance. Okay, verifying not only the Bible, but the characters in the Bible, because that's something I forgot to mention. A lot of people will say that these characters in the patriarchs of Israel in the scriptures that were written about weren't actually people. They didn't actually exist. But as we've been showing by going through, going through these different archaeological finds, we're showing that these people did exist. We showed that Ahab existed. We showed that Jehu existed. We showed that what's the other king during the Bubasite Port? Let me go up here real quick. Name escapes me. Let's see in 2nd Chronicles. Rehoboam. Yeah, that Rehoboam existed. You see what I'm saying? We're showing and proving that these actual individuals existed. And this is going to prove David existed, because the house of David is mentioned. It's not talking about David, but it's talking about his house, about a century and a half after his death. So his house must have been a factor in the area. Okay? Let's go into it though. The Tel Dan description. Okay, the city gate was being excavated. Most of the gate was constructed with typical building materials of the time, but 3 or 4 stones holding the gate together held a history much more interesting than their neighboring stones. These 3 stone fragments were found covered with ancient writing. The largest stone fragment measured 32 by 22 centimeters. Of the original writing, 13 lines of the text are partially preserved. The writing was found to be ancient Aramaic, dating to the mid-800s BC. In the second half of the 9th century BCE, the most widely accepted date for the stela, the kingdom of Aram, under its ruler Hazael, which we were just reading about, a major power in the Levant, Dan, just 70 miles from Hazael's capital city of Damascus, would almost certainly have come under its sway. Talking about Hazael and what he was doing to the region. He was reaping havoc, fucking the whole region up. Okay, so the city of Dan's close proximity to the capital of his kingdom would have definitely made it in the path of, you know, his war path, his blood zone. Okay, what did the writing say? Interestingly, the stone slab is a form of ancient propaganda. An Aramean king, most likely Hazael of Damascus, conquered the Israelite city of Dan sometime in the 1840s BC. After he defeated the city, he evidently erected the inscription in a public place to let everybody know he was now in control of the city. Okay, which, well, like I said, it's ancient propaganda. That's what people do. Just like what did the white man do when he came over here? He started naming the names after his land. You had New York, for example. That wasn't the original name for that place. You had Indians, indigenous people that were living over there and called it after a different name, but the so-called white man claimed it, and he called it New York, which is a Dutch word. Okay, New York is a Dutch word. You see what I'm saying? That's nothing new. The white man didn't just invent this. This is what people have been doing for centuries. You conquer a place, you give it your name. The Israelites did that. When we came up out of Egypt and we took the land of Canaan from the Canaanites, we changed the names of some of those Canaanite lands from what the Canaanites had it to what we wanted to have it. For example, Jerusalem had a different name. You see what I'm saying? You can read about that in the book of Joshua. All right, but you know, I'm gonna get back to this. After he defeated the city, he evidently, okay, we read that part. We know from the Bible, Jehoram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, were both defeated by Hazael. And you can find that in 2 Kings, the 8th chapter, the 28th chapter, and as well as 2 Chronicles, the 22nd chapter. Okay. The author of the inscription mentions conflict with the kings of Israel and the house of Judah. Okay, and the house of David rather, because Judah, when you deal with the separation of the two kingdoms, Israel and Judah, what you have is when you deal with Israel and the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel and the northern kingdom and their kings, originally their kings came out of the house of Jeroboam. But over the course of time, different people out of different houses, even if sometimes different people of different tribes got up into power in the northern kingdom. Okay, but when you deal with the southern kingdom or the kingdom of Judah, what you deal with is kings that all come out of the house of David, out of the line of David, all descendants of David. Okay, King David. And that's what's written here, the house of David. It says it's conflicts between Israel and the house of David, because the kingdom of Judah was called after the name of the house of David. All right, that was the ruling family. Okay, this inscription is fascinating on many levels, but what makes it a great biblical discovery in archaeology is the way one of the kings is described. The Aramean king refers to the kingdom of Judah by its dynastic name, a name frequently used in the Hebrew Bible as well, the house of David. This not only indicates that the family of David still sat on the throne of Jerusalem, like it says in the Bible, but this inscription represents the oldest textual reference to the historical King David ever discovered. So what does this thing prove? It proves the biblical historical timeline is correct. And it proves that the house of David and David himself was a major factor in the Levant, a factor to the point where a century and a half after his death, he is still being wrote about in a high regard, and that he actually existed. Okay, this is also known as the house of David inscription. Look it up. Okay, in order for Hazael to brag about killing a king descending from the house of David, David must have been a well-known and influential king even 150 years after his death. That's the scholar saying that. That's not me. Okay? All right, and I'm going to finish this up and we're going to cite sources. Archaeology puts the earliest possible date at about 870 BCE, whilst the latest possible date is less clear, although according to Lawrence J. Mekitzik, could hardly have been later than 750. Okay, so this is a verifiable piece of archaeological history that verifies who is the king at that time. I believe it's what doesn't say exactly who the king. Oh, Ahaziah. That's who it is. Ahaziah. It verifies Ahaziah's existence as a king in Israel, and it also verifies David's existence, and also verifies the biblical accounts of Judah being ruled by the house of David. All right, a patriarchal line. Okay, but my site sources: Ahab, Agonistes by Lester L. Graff, Saul and the Monarchy by Simcha Shalom Brooks, and the Tel Dan Inscription, a new appraisal and a new interpretation by George Athas. Okay, so you could check them sources, and it's known as the Tel Dan Inscription or the House of David Inscription. Okay, all verifiable archaeological finds that prove, validate, substantiate, certify, verify the Holy Bible and the historical accounts written thereof. Okay, let's go to the next thing now. The Assyrian Lachesh reliefs. Okay, the Assyrian Lachesh reliefs. Look it up. All right, I'm real quick though. I'm gonna go in just so y'all can see it. Cause seeing is believing. These dudes love pictures. Picture worth 1,000 words, right? That's what Anka Kek said from Amin Raswat, right? Picture worth 1,000 words. That's why we presenting pictures, we citing sources, and we giving archaeological facts. We tying them in and showing the parallels of the historical accounts in the scriptures to verify everything we talking about. Okay. Go back up though. Let's get into this. The Assyrian Lachesh reliefs. In 930 BC, the unified country of Israel split into two kingdoms, as I spoke about earlier. The northern kingdom is known as Israel, the southern kingdom is known as Judah. 200 years later, in 720 BC, Israel is destroyed by Assyria. Exactly, the northern kingdom was conquered by the Assyrians, and the northern tribes went into what is known as the Assyrian captivity. All right. With Israel destroyed, Assyria turns its gaze towards destroying Judah. 2 Kings 18 and 13 says, now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them. You see, so it's recorded here in the Bible. 2 Kings 18 and 17 states, and the king of Assyria sent Tartan and Rabsaris and Rabshakeh from the Lachesh to King Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. And when they came up, they came and stood by the conduit of the upper pool, which is in the highway of the fuller's fields. The prize of Judah would be the destruction of Jerusalem. Exactly, because Jerusalem is the capital. So anytime you could destroy Jerusalem, you could really claim that you conquered the kingdom of Judah. Okay? The Assyrian commander tells the people of Jerusalem, do not listen to Hezekiah, for he is misleading you when he says the Lord will deliver us. Has the God of any nation ever delivered his land from the hand of the king of Assyria? So these Assyrians were so proud that, and they didn't believe in the God of Israel, because the God of Israel is not for them. The God of Israel is for us and us alone. They said, well, fuck it. Fuck what they talking about. We're just going to go up in there and take it over anyway. Okay? This is according to common logic, historical facts in the Bible. Hezekiah prays fervently for deliverance. He sends a delegation to Isaiah, the prophet, for counsel. Isaiah tells him not to worry. Jerusalem will not be destroyed by the leading world power. God will intervene. And again, this is another reason I want you to explain to me how the leading world power at that time couldn't conquer the capital of the kingdom of Judah in any other way than a miracle or an act from God. The same way about Shishak the first, Pharaoh of Egypt, how he couldn't conquer Judah fully. Okay, when he had an innumerable army with him, it had to take an act from the Most High God to deliver us out of that, man. That's the only way. But y'all want to say we spooked out. Again, present a counter thesis to God actually working a miracle in these cases, to where the nation of, well, really not even the nation of Israel, the kingdom of Judah, and just namely the capital city of Jerusalem is delivered from the leading world powers at the time. You guys don't make sense, and that's your problem. And you don't really do your research. Y'all do selective research. Okay, y'all want to omit the Bible. Okay, when the Bible is the only book that can help our people. All right, so what y'all being is intellectually irresponsible. Okay, and spiritually retarded at the end of the day. Okay, you want to deal with all tangible things that you always, it's not tangible, which really we're giving you tangible evidence, but we shouldn't even have to give you this tangible evidence. But the fact that we is giving you this tangible evidence really shuts y'all up, man. Okay? Y'all want to get it all verified by the white man, like everything in Kemet is verified by the white man. We verifying it by the white man. We even went to Kemet and verified it via shit that's written on them goddamn walls in Kemet, man. So tell me we lying, man. Okay, the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai rings true. Let God be true and every man a liar. And we showing this history, verifying these facts. All right. Let's get back into this though. Hezekiah prays fervently for deliverance. He sends a delegation to Isaiah the prophet for counsel. Isaiah tells him not to worry. Jerusalem will not be destroyed by the leading world power. God will intervene. This is just one of a myriad of stories found in the Bible. Is this story accurate? How can a story from nearly 3,000 years ago be trusted as completely true? Does archaeology support or deny the accuracy of 2 Kings 18 and 19? That's the question. Layard found the walls of this room covered with limestone, 8 feet tall. This is it's describing the wall where this picture, what we showed earlier, was found. Covered with limestone, 8 feet tall and 80 feet long, wrapping around all 4 walls. Every inch of the room's walls powerfully depicted only one scene in history. Sennacherib's defeat of the southern kingdom city of Lachish, not of all of the kingdom of Judah, not of the city of Jerusalem. He only conquered Lachish. He couldn't conquer Jerusalem and all of the southern kingdom of Israel. Why? Because the Most High God intervened and was with us. That is the only reason why the leading world power of that time, with the most powerful army at that time, which had conquered many kingdoms before, couldn't conquer us. Okay? It didn't have nothing to do with our greatness. It had to do with the Most High God being on our side during that period of time. Same way he was during the reign of the first king of Shishak, the first pharaoh of Egypt. Okay? Remember in 2 Kings 18 and 17, the king of Assyria sent his supreme commander, his chief officer, and his field commander with a large army from Lachish to Hezekiah at Jerusalem. The piece of art identifies itself as the Battle of Lachish and provides detailed chronological information about the battle. Some women are seen walking down siege ramps, which possibly their husbands are being impaled by the Syrians. Okay, when that's the picture we showed earlier. We see that the women of Lachish were wearing what the women of Lachish were wearing the day of battle. We see the type of facial hair worn by the men. We see the type of military equipment and military techniques the Assyrians used to defeat Lachish and threaten Jerusalem. Not defeat Jerusalem, but threaten Jerusalem. The relief gives a stunning play-by-play detail of the destruction of Lachish. The provenance or history of the Lachish relief is without dispute. Okay, the relief did not appear mysteriously on the black market. The dig of Sennacherib's palace was well documented, and the relief clearly discovered from within the city of Nineveh, and specifically in room 26 of Sennacherib's palace. Even though Austin Henry Laner was an amateur archaeologist at the time of the discovery has strong provenance. Furthermore, leading archaeologists have been able to examine the relief and confirm its authenticity and importance. So this is a historically and scholarly verified piece of history that is substantiated in the Holy Bible. Okay? The biblical account is accurate. Lachish was destroyed, not Jerusalem. In additional support to my first point, Sennacherib is boasting to other kings about destroying the second most influential city in Judah. The destruction of Lachish is most widely documented. Is the most widely documented event from the Old Testament. The story is explained in 4 independent sources from the same area: the Bible, Sennacherib's conquest of Judean cities without the capital of Jerusalem are mentioned in the books of Kings, the books of Chronicles, and in the book of Isaiah. So it's mentioned in 3 different books in the Bible, and it's all also mentioned in the history of this particular king. Okay, as on the wall that we showed. In Assyrian cuneiform prisms 3, in archaeological excavations at the site of Lachish, and in the monumental reliefs discovered in Nineveh. So it's verified in all those different sources, both in and outside of the Bible. Okay, verifying the accuracy and the authenticity and the validity of the Bible, both historically, present, and presently. Okay, I'm gonna keep going though. The discovery supports the construction of another archaeological marvel, Hezekiah's tunnel, which Uncle Keck himself mentioned this. Okay, you know, the Amara squad will even co-sign the Hezekiah's tunnel. Okay, but all these archaeological finds all go hand in hand with each other, and all go hand in hand with the Bible, validating and certifying it for those of you who are in disbelief of it. Okay? Sennacherib's army thought they had cut off all sources of water to Jerusalem. It would be a matter of a couple of weeks until the people fled Jerusalem in need of water. The joke was on them. Hezekiah, without modern tools, had constructed a tunnel inside Jerusalem through 170 feet of solid rock in order to reach an underground water supply, all through basically the grace of the Most High God. The tunnel wasn't discovered in modern times until 1837. The tunnel constructed to survive Sennacherib's siege Other authors are pointing out the siege of Jerusalem is not depicted on Lakesh relief because it resulted in failure, and the relief was seen as a way of compensation for not conquering Jerusalem. Other lesser artifacts substantiating the same history, such as the Ezekot inscription and Sennacherib's annals. So there was other historical and archaeological finds that also substantiated and pretty much showed this exact same thing. Okay, and y'all can look up like a bird in the cage, the invasion of Sennacherib in 701 BCE by Lester Grab as a reference. Okay, so I cite my sources. Now next we're gonna go to the Nimrud tablet. All right, and I'm gonna zoom in on this. All right, the Nimrud tablet. Y'all can look this up. All right. You ain't gotta take my word for none of this. Y'all can look all of this up. It's all verifiable in history and archaeologically, and it's all hand in hand with the Bible. All right. I want to keep stating that. I want to keep putting that in the air so y'all understand this, man. This is not a joke. This is not a game. And the Bible is a book that have stood this test of time. All right. And all y'all do is trying to dismiss it. Oh, it's a plagiarism. All of that. It's not a plagiarism. Okay. Ain't nothing in this book plagiarized. It is accounting for different events in history, which you can't say is plagiarized because of that. Because different scholars and different civilizations and cultures have to chronicle and document different events in history as they occur. All right. But anyway, the Nimrud tablet, okay, as also known as the Kalhu Palace Summary Inscription 7, is an inscription on a clay tablet dated 733 BC from the reign of Tiglath-Pileser III, which is estimated to be 745 to 727 BCE. Discovered by George Smith in 1873 in Nimrud. Okay, the tablet describes the first 17 years of Tiglath-Pileser III's reign, and was likely composed in or shortly after his 17th year. It contains archaeological reference to Judah. Okay, the kingdom of Judah, again substantiating that the kingdom of Judah existed. Okay, that the people of Judah existed, and that it was a major player in the Levant of that time period. Okay. The land of Escalon, Jehoahaz of the land of Judah, Qas Malaka of the land of Edom. Okay, what I just showed you basically verifies that there was a king that was reigning, but that King Jehoahaz reigned in Judah during the time period which the scriptures also say he reigned in Judah. All right, verifying a biblical character, verifying the Bible and the people of the Bible's existence. Okay. And that's via the Philistines in Transition, okay, by Carl S. Ehrlich, and also the Picture is Broken Memorial Essays for Gosta W. Alstrom. Okay, we'll go to the next one. There's not a picture for this one either, but y'all can look it up, and I'm gonna cite my source from documents from Old Testament times by David Winton Thomas. Okay. Cite my source real quick, but it's called Jehoiakim's Ration Tablets. Okay, tablets from the royal archives of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, were unearthed in the ruins of Babylon that contained food rations paid to captives and craftsmen who lived in and around the city. The tablets date from 6th century BC and describe the rations set aside for the royal captive, identified with Jeconiah, king of Judah. On one of the tablets it says Yekunu, king of the land of Yahudu, which is basically a transliteration of their language, in their language, of our names. That's Jehoahaz of Judah. Okay, it's mentioned along with his 5 sons listed as royal princes. Okay, so let's go to the Bible to verify or to show you that how it's in the Bible and how this particular tablet verifies biblical, what happened in the Bible, basically biblical historical accounts. Okay, 2 Kings 24 and 10. 10 to 17 we're gonna read. Okay, at that time the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem and all the princes, and the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all craftsmen and smiths, none remained, save the poorest sort of people in the land. And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land, those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths 1,000, and all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah his father's brother king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Okay, so what is that? That is an historical account of what is being spoke about here in the Jehoiakim's ration tablets. Because what happens, you ration your captives, you know, because you got to feed them, but you feed them in rations. Okay, and the king, of course, was getting treated a little better, was getting a little more rations, and it was documented in Babylonian tablets. Okay, and that's again from documents from the Old Testament by David Whitten Thomas. Look it up. Look up the Jehoiakim's ration tablets. Okay, verify that archaeology. Tell me I'm lying. Tell the spirit that it's lying. You know, rather, because the spirit is bearing witness to all this. Okay. Now we're gonna go to the Kiddef Heman silver amulet scroll. Okay, this is more verification of Bible verses that existed before the Dead Sea Scrolls and before the Septuagint. Okay, we're still in a time period that existed before the Dead Sea Scrolls and before the Septuagint. So for all of y'all to say that the Bible didn't exist before that and these people didn't exist before that, you a goddamn liar. All right, but I'm gonna show y'all this. See that right there? The silver amulet scrolls right there. That's Paleo Hebrew right there. And it was found in a silver amulet. And it dates far before the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Septuagint. Okay? And what's written on there? Numbers the 6th chapter. Okay? An anointing prayer that the Lord gave to Moses and Aaron the high priest. Okay? We're going to show that the amulet scroll is older than the Dead Sea Scrolls by more than 400 years. Okay? The larger scroll contained more verses than the smaller scroll, but both of them contain Numbers the 6th chapter, the 24th to the 26th verse. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read that real quick because it's one of my favorite prayers anyway. All right, and it's verification that our laws, our statutes, our commandments, and our history existed pre-Septuagint and pre-Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. It says, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make thy face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Okay, that's what it say. The verse is one of the central passages of Scripture known as the priestly or Aaronic benediction. All right. The amulet scroll powerfully shows the Old Testament being used before, not after the exile. Okay. Before we even dealt with the whole, before the whole Babylonian exile, really, okay? The amulet scroll disproves decades of liberal biblical studies in one small discovery. This disproves a lot of the shit y'all have to say. Just this one thing, not to mention the other insurmountable evidence we've been given we've been giving you from the Kibruk Kiyafa all the way down to this, man. All right, and we still got more archaeological information to get into, validating and verifying the Bible, okay? So really, I mean, y'all really drowning at this point in information. All that shit, all the arguments y'all making is really out of the window at this point. All right? I'm going to keep going though. Third, the scroll is the oldest mention of the name of Yahweh outside of the Bible. Okay, these people, these crackers, they say it Yahweh. Why do they say it Yahweh? Because they're not fit to speak the actual name of the Most High God. Okay, the name of the Most High God is Yahweh. Okay, how do we know that? Number one, because these these vowel precedents that these people try to apply, really, which they get from the Yiddish language, and they apply it to Assyrian script, which really we're dealing with Paleo-Hebrew script, not even Assyrian script. We're dealing with Paleo-Hebrew script with no precedence for these vowels that are being used. Therefore, these vowels did not exist in the language. Okay? But that in itself is a whole different topic. Okay? But we're just going to get to this first, man. All right? We're going to see if y'all not choking on this meat, which you likely are. Okay? Yahweh is being worshipped by the owner of this amulet while the Temple of Solomon stood nearby. The Bible confidently explains all these things at a particular time and place. It's refreshing to find an item which helps to support time, places, and events which so many scholars had long thought to be fictitious. So all them scholars thought these events to be fictitious and thought, certain accounts of the scriptures to be fictitious when they're not, and they're verified not only by this last piece of archaeological evidence we just brought, but all the pieces of archaeological evidence that, have been presented since the beginning of this video. And they all go together to verify the scriptures, and what we're talking about is true, and that the people of Israel existed, that we are the people of Israel, and that the Bible is relevant not only in the past, in the present, and in the future. All right, and it's more relevant than any other piece of literature you could bring. Okay, it's more relevant than any inscription on any wall in Kemet, and in fact, the walls of Kemet validate this thing. Okay, but I'm gonna keep going. All right. Let's go to the elephantine papyri, okay? And a brother had told me about this, and I know some brothers have already hit a lot of you Kemetic dudes with this elephantine papyri, all right? The elephantine papyri are a collection of ancient Jewish manuscripts dating from the 5th century BC. So now we bring it to the 5th century here. We started in the 10th century BC, now we're in the 5th century BC, all right? We've only gone 500 years, a half a millennia with all of this information coinciding with the Bible. All right, it's all cohesive with the scriptures. History from other civilizations, cohesive with the scriptures, validating the scriptures. I want to keep pounding that into some of your hard, so-called conscious skulls. Okay, y'all is in a deep sleep, claiming to be conscious. Okay, anybody denying this Bible is out of their damn mind. All right, but we're gonna go see. But this whole video is just to verify and validate it and to build that foundation. Now we don't have to keep defending it because we showing. Basically, well, I mean, we are going to have to keep defending it, but what I'm saying is we showing historically and archaeologically its foundation, and that is relevant, and that is accurate, and that is actual, and then from there, now we're going to present it further in our arguments, and we're not going to get, hopefully at least, to, if our people aren't being so intellectually irresponsible, we're going to, be able to present certain things out of it, in a better environment. And our people will be more willing to hear it, because I understand why they're so turned off by it. But you got to understand that this book is real, and this book don't say what you think it say. And this book is the guidebook to life, and it is the guidebook to our salvation and our ultimate liberation. And ain't none of these conscious dudes presenting anything, any argument, any thesis, any hypothesis, any plan, possibly fathomable, okay, that could combat or match the scriptures in its plan to liberating us as a people, okay, and to establish an order on the planet Earth, and to bringing the earth back to its natural paradise state. Only the Bible is giving that, man. All this sovereignty bullshit, all this real estate bullshit, all that other shit, that shit is bullshit, okay? And that's not what's going to get us out of this. Only thing to get us out of this captivity and out from under this goddamn devil is this Bible. And is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, in the name of his son. All right, but I'm going to keep going. The elephantine papyri are a collection of ancient Jewish manuscripts dating from the 5th century BC. They come from a Jewish community at Elephantine, then called Yib, the island in the Nile at the border of Nubia. So we're going back into Kemet. We're going back into Kemet to verify this, okay? And it's not saying that the Jews plagiarized something that was Kemetic. It's saying that the Kemetic left records of the Jews, and not only that, but you had Jews that were dwelling in Kemetic land that were communicating with their brothers in their homeland of Jerusalem, okay? They come from a Jewish community. Okay, I read that part. Among the papyri was found the Passover letter of 419 BCE, discovered in 1907, which gives detailed instructions for properly keeping the Passover. The Jews had their own temple to Yahweh, inventing polytheistic beliefs which functioned alongside Cunham. The petition of Bogoaz, okay, is a letter written in 407 BCE to Bogoaz, the Persian governor of Judea, appealing for assistance in rebuilding the Jewish temple in Elephantine, because we had a temple in Elephantine. So when you understand the history of what happened when the Medo-Persian Empire had conquered the Babylonians, and the Israelites are the Jews who went back into our land, because we were known as the Jews at that time because we were the kingdom of Judah, and the kingdom of Israel had already came to this side of the earth, to the Americas, and started being the indigenous peoples of the Americas. But when you understand that time, as opposed to what the Babylonians did with oppressing us and having us in captivity, the Medo-Persians, after they took down the Babylonians, they let us go back into our land and reconstruct our temple. So what happened during this time period is the community of our people that were dwelling in Egypt, in this island in the Nile, had asked the governor of the Persian governor that was up over Jerusalem during that time, had basically asked for assistance in also rebuilding the temple that was in Elephantine, while we was rebuilding the temple that was at Jerusalem. You can read about that in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. Okay. Okay. Appealing for assistance in rebuilding the Jewish temple in Elephantine, which had recently been badly damaged by an anti-Semitic rampage on the part of a segment of the Elephantine community. Why? Because you had Hamitic or Kemetic Egyptians that were dwelling there that, of course, did not like us, and did not like how we got down. Okay, so what do? They attack us, and y'all are taking on their customs, and they're taking on their mindset. Hence why you have these so-called Kemetic conscious people constantly attacking the Israelites, when we're just trying to bring you dumbasses back to who you are, man, and wake you niggas up. But I'm gonna go back into it. In the course of this appeal, the Jewish inhabitants of Elephantine speak of the antiquity of the damaged temple. Now, our forefathers built this temple in the fortress of Elephantine back in the days of the kingdom of Egypt. And when Cambyses came to Egypt, he found it built. The Persians knocked down all the temples of the gods of Egypt, but no one did any damage to this temple. Why? Because this was the temple of the Most High. Now, when you're dealing with the Persians, when you deal with Cyrus, when you're dealing with King Cyrus of the Persians, or even before that, Darius, I believe, it's either Darius or Cyrus. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but when the first, I believe it's Cyrus. The first king of Cyrus is the Persian king, Darius is the Medio king. So when you're dealing with that first king, basically a prophet came to him and let him know that the Most High was going to allow him to be with him in taking down the Babylonians, but in exchange for that he would have to have mercy on the Israelites. So what happens is when you have the Persians going around conquering that area, they are leaving different Israelite communities, different Israelite monuments, temples and things like that alone. Why? Because the prophet appeared unto that king, and that king had mercy on our people. Okay, that's why they knocked down the temples to the Egyptian gods, but they left ours alone, because our God was on his side in defeating the Babylonian Empire. You understand that? Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going. The community also appealed for aid to Sambalat the first, a Samaritan Pontiff, and his son Deliah and Shelemiah, as well as Jehonan ben Elishib. Both Sanballat and Jehonan are mentioned in the book of Nehemiah, like I just referenced the book of Nehemiah, okay, where you can read about these different things, and also the book of Ezra, okay, and also the book of First Ezra, which can be found in the Apocrypha, okay, which is a part of the original compilation of the Bible. But circa 1769, with the Bible Destruction Group coming, they tried to take it out. Okay, that's why you see some of us will have the original 1611 edition of the Bible that'll have all the books, but then usually some of us will have the Bible, which has the 66 books, and then the Apocrypha, which has the 14 books, which makes a completion of 80 books. Okay, and you could also read about this. And then real quick, biblical reference to this actual community of Israelites existing in Egypt. Okay, I want to get y'all some of that. We're going to go to First Chronicles. Okay, they said it was a very old settlement. They had that temple there, and they had been dwelling there. You had a population, a community of our people dwelling there in Egypt. Okay, at the border of Nubia, in the Nile, on that island. Okay, and I want to read this. This is First Chronicles 13:5. So David gathered all Israel together from Shihor of Egypt, showing that our people were dwelling in Egypt even as early as the time of King David, even unto the entering of Hemeth, to bring the ark of the Most High from Kirjath Jearim. Okay, so showing you that according to the Bible, you had our people dwelling in Egypt to David. I mean, even before the time of David, just like it says here in this piece of history, pursuant to the Elephantine papyri. Okay, and when you say the papyri, it was multiple. It was different. It was, you know, it was a lot of them. As we see, was cited one from 407 BCE, another one from 419 BCE. So there was a series of letters and correspondence between the Israelite community in Elephantine on that island in the Nile, and, you know, the ones in Jerusalem. Okay, and the word Shihor, because in 1 Chronicles 13:5, it mentions Shihor of Egypt. Now the word Shihor means a river or canal on the east border of Egypt and a branch of the Nile. So that's exactly, it was actually referring to Elephantine, but in the scriptures, in that sense, it was called Shihor. Okay, there was different names through antiquity, you know, and they changed. Okay, but Shihor is what it's referenced to in the Bible. Okay, proving all these things are all cohesive. History in the scriptures are all cohesive with each other. Okay, these people existed, these places existed, these events happened, these stories are true and actual. Okay, but I'm gonna keep going. Now we're gonna go a little earlier in the history, because a lot of people want to say, well, y'all have no tombs, y'all have no bone, y'all don't have this. They love saying that. Now, one of my previous videos that I did on the commentary, I believe it was the commentary of the debate between Seti and Nasia. I believe I did. If y'all ain't checked out my commentaries, go to the channel Sakari1715, or as it appears as a display name is Sakari Sit Downs. Go to that. Check out the different commentaries I did about the Seti and Nasia debate, as well as the Tzariak and polite debate. But I believe it was the Seti and Nasia debate. I had seen somebody on the comment boards talking about, y'all have no tombs, y'all have no this. They always bringing up these tombs, which, number one, when you read in the scriptures, it tells us our tombs were raided by the different conquering nations and empires that conquered us. Even the white man did that to us, man, going back to the Roman times and even going back into recent times. But there's still documented tombs of patriarchs and prophets of Israel, okay, which I referenced in those previous videos. You could check those. You could check those videos and check out the locations being named and their authenticity. They're all verifiable. You can easily Google them and see pictures of them. But I want to deal with one mass grave and mass tomb site in particular, okay, where even the bones of High Priest Caiaphas, written about in the New Testament, are verifiably there, okay? Because now we're going to kind of transition into the New Testament. We've been dealing with the Old Testament history a lot, but now we're going to transition into the New Testament, because you got to understand, when you're reading in the scriptures, you go into the history of 1 Kings, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, and then you kind of transition into the prophets or the prophecies. And when you transition into the prophets existed during the times of these historical events. So these prophets were writing these prophecies while these different events in history were going down. So when you read about the prophecies pursuant to the destruction of ancient Babylon, you can't tell me ancient Babylon wasn't destroyed. Therefore, that validates the prophecies. You see what I'm saying? Now, the history, we know the history is accurate because we just validated it through the historical accounts of other civilizations. So that got to be a fact. Now, again, you can't argue the wise words. You can't argue the songs of inspiration. You can't argue the infinite benefits of the law. Therefore, how can you argue the Bible's authenticity and validity? You can't. Not logically. You can't. It is impossible. But we're going to keep going. Okay? Now let's deal with this. I want y'all to see this picture. Okay? Look at this picture right here. All right? Matter of fact, hold on. Okay. Let's take a look at this picture. This is the place known by the scholars as the Jerusalem necropolis. Okay? For those of y'all who don't know what the word necropolis is, let's etymologically break that down. Necro. Okay? It breaks down into two words, necro and opolis. Necro, from the Greek necros, dead body, corpse, dead person. Opolis or polis, from the Greek polis, city, one city, the state, citizen. So what does that literally mean? Necropolis, city of the dead. So outside of Jerusalem, you had a city of the dead, mass tombs and grave sites of thousands of Israelites, verifying their existence as a people. Okay? Ancient Jerusalem was surrounded by a necropolis of rock-cut tombs. These tombs date to the late First Temple period, okay? The 8th century to 586 BCE, and the late Second Temple period, 1st century BCE to 7 CE, okay? And that's via Oxford University, okay? Now let's do some verification on who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, real name Yahweh Shai, okay? We know about Pontius Pilate. What we know about Pontius Pilate comes primarily from the Bible. 3 men named Tacitus, Josephus, and Philo all lived around the time of Jesus and mentioned Pilate in their writings. Tacitus writes, to dispel the rumor, Nero substituted as culprits and threatened with the most extreme punishment some people popularly known as Christians, showing that there was a lot of shit being started by a group of people labeled the Christians. Why were they labeled the Christians? Because they were following Christ, okay? Who the world ignorantly calls Christ, whose disgraceful activities were notorious. He was hated. Why? Because he was a black man, and not only was he a black man, he was a black revolutionary that had thousands of black people following him, and they hated it, just like we see if a black man gets followed and he's standing up against the system today, these crackers is going to hate it, okay? I'm going to keep going on. The originator of that name, Christus, had been executed when Tiberius was emperor. Okay, why? Well, this is a historical account of the crucifixion of who the world ignorantly calls Christ. Okay, by order of the procurator Pontius Pilate, indicating that there was a man who was surnamed Christus who was executed or crucified, and indicating that a man by the name of Pontius Pilate ordered or was the overseer of that crucifixion, and he was a historical person. And we just verified that, okay? We verified Jesus in history. We verified Pontius Pilate in history. We verified a group of people known as the Christians or followers of Christ, a sect of people, a political party even in history. And we verified the crucifixion in history just right now, okay? Are y'all paying attention? Are y'all listening? Do y'all hear me? Do you hear the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai talking? Like the Bible say, he who have an ear, let him hear. So some of this is going to fall on deaf ears, but some of y'all is realizing right now that all that comedic and all that, the Bible is bullshit, argument ain't really standing up, okay? But I'm going to keep going. But the deadly cult, though checked for a time, was now breaking out again, not only in Judea, the birthplace of this evil, where Christ came up at, but even throughout Rome, because you had the different apostles that were sent out to our people who were known as Gentiles, not actual Gentiles, but our people that were living amongst and living as the Gentiles in different areas and lands, such as Rome and such as Asia Minor were living. You had different apostles that were sent to them to preach to them what is known as the gospel, okay? Or the good news. What is the good news? The restoration of Israel, or the restoration of the so-called African American, West Indian, Haitian, Hispanic, and Native American man. All right. But even throughout Rome, where all the nasty and disgusting ideas from all over the world pour in and find a ready following. Okay, let's see what Josephus wrote. About this time there lived Jesus, a wise man, for he was a performer of wonderful deeds, as written in the Bible, a teacher of such men as are happy to accept the truth. He won over many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles, okay? Meaning the Israelites that lived outside of Jerusalem and were living as these other people, as the Romans, as the Galatians, as the Corinthians, as the Lacedaemonians and such, okay? When Pilate at the suggesting, he won over many Jews and Gentiles, When Pilate, again verifying Pontius Pilate, at the suggestion of the leading men among us, which was Caiaphas and the high priest, as he was conspired against, as chronicled in the Gospels of the Bible, leading men among us had condemned him to the cross. Again, verified Jesus' existence, Pontius Pilate's existence, and the actual occurrence of the crucifixion. Okay? Those who had loved him at the first did not forsake him, and the tribe of Christians, so named from him, are not extinct to this day. Okay? Philo, more than the other men, speaks to the character of Pilate. He explains Pilate as a man of inflexible, stubborn, and cruel disposition. Philo explains several situations where Pilate provokes and is cruel to the Jewish people The Bible and these three men speak plainly about Pilate, the world of Pontius Pilate, and the man from Nazareth whom he sentenced to be crucified. Pontius Pilate is seen by Tacitus, Philo, and Josephus as the real governor of Judea and the real man who sentenced Jesus to be crucified. So those are three historical people that were contemporary of each other, that were verified historians, that many historians and scholars look to for insight of that period of history. Verified Pontius Pilate's existence, Jesus' existence, and the actual event of the crucifixion taking place, and the sect of the followers of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus as being a major sect and a major factor during that time period. Okay? And guess who all those people were? Black men. Jesus Christ, a black man, and his followers were black men. All right? Will be called a Negro or African American in today's society. All right? In 1961, the archaeological world was taken back to the 1st century Roman province of Judea. A group of archaeologists led by Dr. Antonio Froga were excavating an ancient Roman theater near Caesarea Maritima. Caesarea was a leading city in the 1st century located on the Mediterranean Sea. A limestone block was found there with a surprising inscription. The inscription on 3 lines reads, "Is Tiberium Pontius Pilate, Praefectus, basically Judea." It's Ivdaea, but as we know in the Latin through its transliteration, it is Judea. Okay, and you can verify these things when you just look up Philo, look up Josephus, and look up Tacitus. And I got this particular article from reclaimingthemind.org. All right, so I could cite my source. The inscription is believed to be part of a larger inscription dedicating a temple in Caesarea to Emperor Tiberius. Okay, showing it said, what did Tacitus say? He said that Tiberius was the emperor during the time in which Pontius Pilate was the governor of Judea and Christ was executed. All right, this is all verifying that. Okay, the inscription clearly states Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea. The inscription is significant on several levels. It makes sense for Pilate to be dedicating a temple in Caesarea Maritima. The prefect usually lived in Caesarea and only went to Jerusalem for special purposes. What was the special purpose? Pilate went to Jerusalem, that annual crucifixion. Okay, and in this particular case, who the world calls Christ, died during that annual crucifixion. Okay, an inscription of Pilate found in Caesarea fits the 1st century world described in the Bible, verifying the Bible historically. The dating for the inscription in connection with this mention to Tiberius, 42 BC to 37 AD, places the governor Pontius Pilate at the same place and time as the Bible's information about Jesus. Okay, so it's all verifiable and it's all historical, man. All right, so really what this whole video was about was putting to rest a lot of the bullshit arguments and the bullshit vain blanket statements that a lot of you so-called conscious people make, trying to discredit and defame the Bible. What that did was just verify and validate the Bible from the Torah, from the first 5 books onto the New Testament, as historically accurate and historically verifiable and validated facts. Okay, you cannot argue these things were chronicled and accounted for in different civilizations that were even at odds with Israel during these different time periods. Okay, some of which that is. All right, so I want y'all to take that, I want y'all to swallow it, put it in your crack pipe and smoke it. Okay, and get used to the Hebrew Israelites and get used to seeing us. Why? Because we're coming to the time of the end of this so-called white man's kingdom. So what's going to happen is the Lord is going to raise up his men and his prophets to prophesy the downfall of this kingdom and to spread the truth to his people. So you're going to see more and more Hebrew Israelites. We're going to be popping up. We're going to be shutting down a lot of the lies that you niggas choose to believe. A lot of the lies and doctrines created by the so-called white man that you niggas choose to believe, and putting them to shame and to rest, and showing you that the Bible is the only book of power on this earth. That's why they made a movie called The Book of Eli. The word Eli goes back to the Hebrew word Allah, meaning power. This is the only book of power. And that was the Bible that they were dealing with in the Book of Eli. That was the Bible everybody wanted to get their hands on. And you got to understand something. Yes, the so-called white man has cunningly used this Bible. Okay, let's not get it twisted. He is that old serpent. Okay, he's wise. Serpents are wise and subtle, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to strike. Okay, so they took the Bible, they twisted the Bible, they gave us religion. They didn't give us the Bible, they gave us religion. They gave us a religion that lied to us. Okay, and by doing that to us, when our people start being conscious, they want to reject this Bible because of the lies they've been told about it. Okay, but what we're here to do is we're here to present to you the scriptures and the Holy Bible in their true form, and as the Creator wanted us to present it and wants us to read it, because this is our book, it is not their book, and we need to really come into this, and we need to really take hold of this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that's contained only in that Bible through the Holy Spirit. Okay, and I want a lot of y'all to wake up, and I want a lot of y'all to stop being so ignorant and so dismissive to these scriptures, when of course it's historically verifiable, but more important than its historical validity, you have to take a look and see the words that are written in there and see how they resonate with us as a people. Okay, it's indisputable and it's irrefutable, and I hope in later videos to further show that. But I wanted to get this out of the way so we could build a foundation and show that this Bible is an important relic of history in essence, and that's the thing. So now that we've shown that, now we can build further on that. This is the foundation. Let's build further on this. Okay, so I hope brothers learned a lot, and I hope dudes who were dismissive to the Bible now are looking at it in a different light, when really taking into consideration the full scope of its historical validity, okay, and the historical accounts of it and how they're validated in other civilizations, okay. Like the Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, and we just showed multiple witnesses attesting to its accuracy, okay. So again, I want y'all to all take that and swallow that. You know, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, double honors to my elders, and shalom, brother, to the brothers out there doing the work in truth and sincerity. I'd like to say Kwam Yasharallah for all of those who don't know what that means. That means Rise Israel. And again, another big shout out to Sonetta TV and the whole House of Consciousness. I want my people to wake up, my black and Hispanic people to wake up and realize who they are, smell the coffee, know who their enemy is, and know how to properly combat the enemy. And the only way to understand and fully comprehend how to properly combat the enemy is to get in tune with the Holy Bible. Okay, and with that, I want to say Shalom.